Blake Turner built a media empire in Los Angeles, but lost the only woman he truly loved. One morning, a paperboy tossed the LA Chronicle at his sports car and shouted, "Dad forgot me!" Blake froze. Was this some mistake? Or was that boy, Sam, his son? Set against the buzz of downtown LA and a fading newsstand, this story unfolds with regret, betrayal, and hope. Blake's past comes crashing back when he learns his father, Edward, lied years ago, telling Lauren, the love of his life, that Blake rejected her and the baby, and Lauren believed it, raising Sam alone. Now, Blake buys papers every day, just to see Sam. He skips interviews. He cancels shoots. He reads Sam's articles, searching for redemption in every crumpled headline. When Blake discovers the truth about the bribe that tore them apart, he makes a choice: family over fame. But can a father earn back a boy's trust with just a paper route and a promise? And can an old love be printed again? Look for the symbol: Sam's crumpled newspaper, his pain, and Blake's second chance. Subscribe to see this heartfelt story unfold. Blake Turner stood behind the glass wall of his LA media tower, city buzzing below like a broken clock he didn't know how to fix. 43, empire built, schedule, full yet hollow. He rubbed his temple as studio lights flickered behind him. A publicist chattered in his earpiece. He wasn't listening. Down on the street, a flash of movement. A paperboy, no older than 9, zigzagged through cars. Sneakers scuffed, cap turned backward, voice cutting through honking horns. "Chronicle! Get your Chronicle!" Blake squinted, turning away. Then, thwap. A rolled-up paper struck his windshield. "Dad forgot me!" Blake's blood iced. He stepped forward instinctively, but the boy was already gone, disappearing into traffic, arms full of headlines. Just a prank, right? Back in the elevator, the paper sat in his hand like it weighed more than it should. Its front-page headline: "Absent fathers, absent futures." His jaw clenched. Coincidence? Or... That voice haunted him, not because it accused, because it sounded like her. Lauren, the woman he'd almost married, the woman, his father said, walked away. But what if she hadn't? That night, he drove past 6 intersections he knew by heart. Lauren's old neighborhood, corner store, her church, that newsstand. He stopped, just past the curb, under a flickering street lamp. The boy. Sam. Rolled papers slung in a torn canvas bag. He was cracking jokes to a homeless vet, trading a paper for a boiled egg. Blake watched, silent, until the boy turned and stared right at him. "Hey, you!" Sam called. "You forgot the rest of your paper." Blake stepped out, coat still sharp from the studio, shoes too clean for this corner. "Do I know you?" he asked carefully. Sam smirked. "You should. Name's Sam, 9 years old, street certified, and apparently I'm the son you left behind." "What did you just say?" "I said, 'Here's your paper, sir,'" Sam replied, tossing it like a pass in a football game. Catch. The kid was clever, too clever. But it wasn't just the words. It was the eyes, wide, stubborn, and familiar. Blake crouched. "Where's your mom?" Sam's smile vanished. "Working late. She always does. Because people like you don't stay." Blake's heart hit something deep. "What's her name?" Sam shrugged. "Ask her yourself. She's at Melrose and 9th, selling truth to people who stopped caring. Good luck." The boy turned, tossing a final word over his shoulder. "Oh, and your name? Not on the birth certificate. But my middle name? It's Blake. Weird, huh?" Blake couldn't move. He returned to his penthouse, lights low. The paper sat on his marble counter, headline crumpled now. "Absent fathers, absent futures." He stared at it, and it stared back. The next morning, he sat in his office ignoring every call. "Get me my father," he told his assistant. "Now." Edward Turner arrived with perfect hair and an unapologetic smirk. "This better be good," he said, sitting. "We've got a board to answer to." Blake tossed the crumpled paper across the desk. "You remember Lauren? Tell me again why she left." Edward blinked. "Blake, that was years ago. She said she didn't want the life." "No, you said that. She never spoke to me, not once. You intercepted everything. Are you accusing me of something?" Blake's voice was low. "I met a boy yesterday. Said his name was Sam, 9 years old. Looks like me. Sharp mouth. Your kind of sarcasm. He knew who I was." Edward leaned back, jaw tightening. "You're being emotional. That's not an answer. You bribed her, didn't you?" The silence that followed was the loudest Blake had ever heard. Edward looked out of the window, tone flat. "She would have ruined you. You had the 7 p.m. anchor slot, the ownership deal, the brand. One scandal, and it all goes away." Blake's voice cracked. "So, you paid her off?" "I protected you." Blake slammed his fist onto the desk. "You stole my son!" Edward's mask cracked for just a second. Then, "If you walk away from the network now, it's over. The press smells everything." Blake stared. "Then let it burn." That night, Blake stood alone outside the newsstand, waiting. The light flickered again. Sam appeared, dragging his bag, same stubborn walk. Blake held out a fresh paper bag. "I brought dinner," he said gently. Sam looked wary. "Trying to buy me off?" "No. I want to read what you write, and maybe you'll let me help you deliver tomorrow." Sam didn't speak, just reached into his satchel, pulled out a crumpled edition, and handed it over. Blake unfolded it. A messy headline circled in red crayon. "Men can change if they show up." Sam crossed his arms. "You showing up?" Blake nodded, voice soft. "I'm trying, Sam. I really am." The boy didn't answer, but he sat down beside him, legs crossed. Together, they read the paper in silence. That crumpled front page, red ink and all, rested between them, like a symbol of loss, of truth, and maybe of something still possible. The next morning, Blake was already waiting at the newsstand before sunrise. Coffee in hand, heart pounding harder than the traffic rolling by. The air still smelled like old ink and asphalt. Sam hadn't shown up yet, but Blake knew he would. Kids like him didn't get days off. Sure enough, a small silhouette appeared through the mist of a bus passing. Sam, half asleep, dragging that oversized canvas bag again. "Back already?" Sam asked, raising an eyebrow. "Didn't peg you for a return customer." "I'm here for the headlines," Blake said gently. "And maybe the writer." Sam cracked a smirk, pulling out a crumpled paper. "Special edition, same price." Blake handed him $1. "Got a second?" Sam glanced around. "Depends. You gonna yell, cry, or try to hug me?" "None of the above," Blake said. "I just wanted to talk about your mom." Sam stiffened slightly, lowering the papers. "You don't get to talk about her. Not unless you're going to say sorry." Blake nodded slowly. "I might owe her more than that." They sat on a crate by the alley wall, sharing silence like two strangers who knew too much. Blake took a breath. "What did she tell you about me?" Sam shrugged. "Said you were ambitious, that you wanted things she couldn't give. Like being invisible." Blake's chest tightened. "She didn't tell you I left." Sam looked up. "She said you never showed up. Said some people are gone before they even walk out the door." Blake stared down at the newspaper in his hands. "That's not what happened." Sam didn't speak. Blake's voice cracked. "My father told me she left. Said she didn't want the kid. Didn't want me. I believed him. Sam didn't flinch. He lied? Blake nodded. He bribed her to stay away. The words hit the concrete like dropped glass. Sam looked away. 9 years, he snapped. 9 years we scraped by while you had a glass tower in the sky. I didn't know, Blake whispered. Yeah, Sam said bitterly, standing. You didn't care to know. He started walking off, shoulders tense. Wait, Blake called. Your mom. Where is she now? Sam paused. Corner of Melrose and 9th, cleaning offices, 3rd shift. Then he was gone. Blake sat still. The newspaper in his hand fluttered open in the breeze. A small doodle was scrawled on the back page. Sam had drawn it. A stick figure holding a camera, and another, a smaller one holding a rolled paper. Above them, Truth Matters. That night, Blake didn't go home. He parked across from the cleaning firm on Melrose. At 11:03 p.m., Lauren stepped outside, hair tied back, worn, hoodie, same tired eyes he remembered, but dimmer now. He got out of the car, hands in his coat pockets. Lauren. She stopped cold, keys in hand. Her eyes widened, stunned. What are you doing here? She said carefully. I saw Sam. I figured, she muttered. He came home upset. Said some stranger asked too many questions. I didn't know about him, Blake said. Not until yesterday. Lauren's jaw clenched. You expect me to believe that? No, he admitted, but I need to tell you something your son deserves to hear from me. Lauren crossed her arms. Go on. My father told me you left. Said you didn't want to raise a kid with someone chasing TV dreams. He cut you out, bought your silence. She laughed, sharp, bitter. He gave me $20,000 and a non-disclosure letter. Said if I tried to come near you, it would ruin your legacy. I was broke, pregnant, alone. Why didn't you fight back? I did, she snapped. For a year. Letters, calls, all returned. Then nothing. I thought you didn't care, so I stopped trying. Blake stepped closer. I cared. I still do. Lauren's eyes welled, but she blinked it away. It's too late for that. Is it too late for him? Blake asked softly. Because I want to know him, Lauren. Please. Lauren studied him for a long time, breathing hard. Finally, she handed him something from her pocket, a folded paper. Sam's drawing. He draws that every week, she said. Keeps waiting for someone to match the man in the suit. Blake opened it. The stick figure in the drawing wore a tie. The little one held a paper. A red arrow pointed at the man. Below it, find me. I'm not asking you for anything, Blake said, but I want to be in his life. Lauren's voice cracked. Don't make him another promise that gets broken. I won't, Blake whispered. Not again. She didn't answer, just turned, walked down the sidewalk, then looked back once. If you're serious, bring breakfast tomorrow. He's always up at 6, likes jelly toast and bad jokes. Blake smiled for the first time in days. I've got plenty of both. The wind picked up. Sam's drawing fluttered in his hand. And for the first time, Blake Turner didn't feel like he was chasing a headline. He was chasing something real. The next morning, Blake stood awkwardly at the edge of the sidewalk, coffee in one hand, a brown paper bag in the other. Sam was already there, tossing papers like a pro, dodging bikes, trash bins, and morning grumbles. When Blake waved, Sam rolled his eyes. Didn't think you'd show. I said I would, Blake replied. Jelly toast, no crust, and a bad joke. Sam squinted. Let's hear it. What did the newspaper say to the delivery boy? Sam shrugged. No idea. Thanks for the circulation. Sam snorted, almost dropping a rolled copy. That's terrible. I approve. They sat on the stoop beside the newsstand, splitting breakfast. Sam unwrapped the toast like it was treasure. Mom used to bring this after cleaning jobs, before the layoffs. Blake hesitated. You help her? Sam nodded. I do this route before school. Pays $12 a day if I hustle. Blake's heart tightened. You shouldn't have to hustle. Sam looked up. Why not? You did, didn't you? Yeah, but not at 9. They ate in silence. Then Sam pulled something from his satchel. A comic strip, hand-drawn, folded like origami. Want to see my first front page? Blake opened it. Stick figures again. One was clearly Sam. The other, taller, wore a tie and held a microphone. Superdad and Sidekick. Sam saved the day. Blake's throat caught. You made this? Yeah, I write one every week. Miss Carla lets me pin 'em on the backboard. She says truth comes in pictures, too. Blake folded it carefully, sliding it into his coat pocket. This means a lot. Sam shrugged, then muttered, Don't wreck it. They stood and walked the route together. Sam tossing papers, Blake fumbling like he'd never thrown anything in his life. At one point, a dog chased them 4 blocks. Sam howled with laughter the whole way. After the last house, they sat on the curb, catching their breath. You're slow, Sam said, grinning. I'm old, Blake shot back. Different superpower. Then Blake's phone buzzed. He didn't move. Sam raised an eyebrow. Aren't you going to answer? No. I promised I'd finish the route. Sam stared at him a second too long. Huh. Guess you're not always flaky. Trying not to be. Later that day, Blake sat at his studio office, staring at the comic in his hand. The production team buzzed around outside. A script was on the teleprompter. Makeup called twice. He didn't move. Instead, he picked up the phone. Cancel my segment. Tell them I'll explain tomorrow. He drove straight to Lauren's building. Walk up, cracked steps, peeling mailbox labels. She opened the door in sweatpants, her hair damp from a shower. You skipped your show? I had a better headline this morning. Lauren folded her arms. You came all this way to flirt with a tired single mom? Blake smiled, soft. No. I came to ask if I can spend more time with our son. Her face shifted, guarded, uncertain. He pulled the comic from his coat. He gave me this, told me not to ruin it. Lauren took it, eyes scanning the lines. Her fingers trembled. He used to draw you, even when he didn't know your name. I don't want to be a drawing anymore. I want to be real. Lauren leaned on the doorframe. You know how many times he's been let down? I do now. She studied him. What do you want from me? Nothing. Just your trust and time with Sam. Whatever he'll allow. Lauren hesitated, then handed him a manila envelope from the side table. There's paperwork. If you're serious, you'll read it. He needs stability, Blake, not just pop-ins. Blake took it. I'm not going anywhere. As he turned to leave, Lauren called softly, He used to ask why his dad didn't want him. I never knew how to answer. Blake turned back. I do. She nodded, closing the door halfway, then paused. Bring him lunch Friday. He likes grilled cheese from Manny's. I'll be there. That night, Blake stood in his penthouse, staring at Sam's comic strip taped above his desk. The skyline outside blinked like camera flashes. But he wasn't chasing lights anymore. He was chasing the boy who gave him a second chance, with crayons, toast, and a joke about newspapers. And that was the story that mattered. Blake stood outside Manny's deli, paper bag in hand, nerves twisting like cables under his skin. Inside was a grilled cheese sandwich, still warm, still perfect. Just like Lauren, said Sam, liked it. He checked his watch. 11:59. At 12:01, Sam burst out of the school gate, backpack swinging, sneakers half untied. He scanned the sidewalk, eyes darting, then landed on Blake. You actually brought it? Blake held the bag up like a trophy. No crust, extra melt. Sam grabbed it and ripped it open mid-step. Okay, this is bribery, but it works. They sat on a bench outside the schoolyard. Sam devoured half the sandwich in 3 bites. Slow down, Blake said. You're gonna choke. Only if it's bad, Sam mumbled through a mouthful. This is top tier. Blake smiled. It was small, but it felt like progress. Sam wiped his mouth with his sleeve. So, you skipping TV again? Yeah, Blake said. Told the crew I had something more important. Sam raised an eyebrow. More important than your face on 5 billboards? Yep, Blake said, dead serious. Your face matters more. For a second, Sam went quiet. Then, he offered the last bite. You sure? Don't get mushy, Sam grinned. It's just sandwich economics. Later that afternoon, Blake found himself back at the studio, but not on set. He was in the editing bay, flipping through old B-roll, watching a segment on youth literacy he never aired. Behind him, Chloe, his junior producer, leaned in. This some personal project? Blake hesitated. Thinking of starting a new initiative, she crossed her arms. Not like you to go off script. It's time I stopped letting others write it for me. He pulled out Sam's latest comic from his coat. Ever heard of Sidekick Sam? Chloe read it, smiled. Kid's got heart. I want to build something, Blake said. A space for kids like him. Storytellers, thinkers, messengers. They deserve to be heard. Chloe lit up. Like a news lab? Exactly. Run by kids for kids. We'll call it the Paper Trail. Back at the newsstand that evening, Sam spotted Blake before he even pulled up. Late. Traffic. Excuses, Sam teased, then added, We delivered to the apartment block already. Mrs. Tate gave me expired cookies again. Still ate them, didn't you? Sam grinned. Obviously. They made their way down the last stretch of the route together. Sam tossed papers. Blake missed a few steps, stumbling on a broken curb. Sam laughed. You need better shoes. I need a better teacher, Blake muttered, rubbing his ankle. At the final house, Sam handed him the last roll. You do the honors. Blake aimed, overcorrected, and nailed the mailbox. Nice arc, Sam admitted. Still a D+ on style. They sat on the curb again, dusk settling like warm velvet around them. Sam pulled a crumpled paper from his bag. I saved you one. Today's headline's pretty good. Blake unrolled it. On the front page, circled in red crayon, was the feature article, Second Chances, Same Street. He looked over. Did you pick this one? Sam shrugged. Miss Carla said I could. Seemed right. Blake folded it gently, smoothing the edges. This is going on my fridge. You have a fridge? I have 2, Blake replied. One's never been used. Guess it was waiting for drawings. Sam looked down. Do you think... My mom still hates you? Blake's voice was soft. I think she's scared of letting me back in. Sam didn't reply right away. Then, she said you used to be kind. Before the suits, before the towers. I want to be kind again. Sam leaned back on his hands. Then keep showing up, Blake nodded. Deal. Suddenly, a black SUV pulled up beside them. Windows tinted. The door opened, and Edward Turner stepped out. Blake's body stiffened. Edward scanned the curb, the paper in Blake's hands, then Sam. This him? Edward asked coolly. Blake stood. Why are you here? Edward ignored the question, turning to Sam. You look like your father. Stubborn jaw, same glare. Sam looked up. You must be the reason he's so messed up. Blake choked. Edward smirked. I see the kid got your sarcasm. Charming. Leave, Blake said, voice cold. Edward's smile faded. You think you can toss everything we built for this? Some fantasy about rewriting history with jelly sandwiches and comics? I'm not rewriting, Blake replied. I'm printing the truth, for the first time. Edward turned slowly, but not before muttering, They'll eat you alive, Blake. Blake watched the car pull away. Sam glanced over. Was that Grandpa? Yeah. He's kind of a tool, Blake chuckled. Yeah, he is. They sat in silence again. The red crayon circle on the paper glowed faintly in the evening light. And this time, Blake didn't feel small beside his son. He felt seen. The next day, Blake walked into his studio with a quiet storm under his skin. The lobby screens still played reruns of last week's segment, his face plastered across every monitor. But it didn't feel like him anymore. Upstairs, the boardroom was buzzing. Suits, slides, forecasts. Blake sat at the head, but barely spoke. "Blake," one exec said, "we need your approval on next quarter's campaign. You're the brand." He glanced down at Sam's latest comic, tucked neatly into his notebook. The cover read, "Hero in Training. Still messy. Still trying." Blake looked up. "Hold the campaign. I'm pivoting the focus." Silence. Then confusion. "Pivoting to what?" another asked. "People, truth, stories that matter." They blinked. Blake stood. "Cancel the panel. I've got work to do." He walked out before anyone could argue. That night, Blake arrived early to the newsstand. Sam was already there, sitting on an overturned milk crate, sketching something on a paper wrapper. "Thought you bailed," Sam said, not looking up. "Never," Blake said. "What you drawing?" Sam turned the page. It was a messy doodle of Blake holding a newspaper like a sword. Above it, a bubble read, "Truth has muscles." Blake burst out laughing. "I look like I skipped neck day." Sam smirked. "I was being generous." They began the route in sync. Blake slower, but improving. A neighbor waved. Sam waved back. Blake copied him. Mid-route, Sam asked, "You ever think about walking away from all that TV stuff?" Blake hesitated. "Every day lately." "Why don't you?" Blake took a breath. "Because for a long time I thought being seen by the world was enough. Now, I'd rather be seen by you." Sam didn't reply, but the edge of his mouth twitched. At the last house, they sat on the curb. Sam offered Blake the final rolled paper. "You do it." Blake hurled it, perfect arc, right onto the porch. "Okay, that was actually sick," Sam said. "Like, for real." Blake raised a brow. "That an official Sidekick Sam rating?" "Solid B+, room for swagger." They shared a grin, then silence. Finally, Sam whispered, "Do you ever wonder if my mom's right? About you? Not staying?" Blake's chest tightened. "She has every reason not to trust me." "But I do," Sam said quietly. I don't want her to get hurt again." Blake swallowed hard. "I don't want that either." At that moment, Lauren appeared from the far corner, tote slung over her shoulder, walking home from work. She paused when she saw them. Blake holding a paper, Sam mid-laugh. She walked over slowly. "Didn't think you two would still be out." "Route took longer," Blake said. "I missed 3 porches." Sam added, "He almost threw one into a tree. It was art." Lauren looked between them. "He's calmer around you." "Guess I'm rubbing off," Blake said, almost hopeful. She didn't smile. "Not yet. That doesn't mean I'm ready." "I know," Blake said, "but I'd like to walk you both home." They walked together, quiet except for the scrape of Sam's sneakers on pavement. At the apartment, Sam rushed upstairs to feed the cat. Lauren lingered at the door. "You keep showing up," she said, arms folded. "Trying to rewrite the ending," Blake replied. Lauren shook her head. "That's not how endings work. You start where you are, or you don't start at all." She looked down. "He asked if he could call you Dad. I told him it was his choice." Blake blinked. "What did he say?" "He said not yet, but maybe, if you keep walking the route." Blake's voice dropped. "That's fair?" She looked at him then, really looked. "Don't ruin this." "I won't." She stepped inside but paused. "Oh, he made something for you." She handed him a folded paper. Blake opened it under the porch light. It was a front-page mock-up, Turner and Son, delivering truth since last Tuesday. A stick figure version of them smiled under a sunset. Blake held it to his chest. That night, he didn't go back to his tower. He drove to a modest printer in East LA, handed them the drawing, and asked, "Can you make this into 100 flyers?" The man behind the counter looked at it. "Local paper?" "Not yet," Blake said, smiling softly, "but it will be." He walked back to his car, flyer in hand, lit by the street lamp glow. The boy who'd once shouted, "Dad forgot me," was now delivering something far more powerful, hope, printed in red crayon. And, for the first time, Blake believed it might stick. The morning was unusually quiet. No cars honking, no dogs barking, just Blake, standing outside Lauren's apartment holding a bundle of freshly printed flyers. Sam's front page, now glossy, real, and official. He knocked gently. Lauren opened the door in a bathrobe, hair still damp. She blinked. "You're early." Blake lifted the flyers. "I brought something." She took one, brows lifting as she traced the headline. Turner and Son, delivering truth since last Tuesday. Sam's drawing, cleaned up, printed in bold ink. "He's gonna lose his mind," she said softly. "That's the plan." From inside, Sam's voice rang out. "Is that toast? Or are we just talking grown-up disappointment again?" Blake chuckled. "Definitely toast." Sam bounded into the doorway, froze when he saw the stack. "Wait, you printed it?" "Every hero needs a headline," Blake said. Sam grabbed one, holding it like it was gold. "Can we hang this at the newsstand?" Blake nodded. "And in every coffee shop that'll take us." They hit the route early that day. Sam skipping down steps, Blake in tow, flyers tucked in his jacket. They dropped off papers, handed out flyers. Most folks smiled. Some even clapped. At one corner, a woman teared up reading Sam's name under the comic strip. "Did you really draw this?" she asked. Sam beamed. "Every week." Blake stood behind him, quiet pride written all over his face. By midday, they hit a quieter block. Sam slowed, chewing on a lollipop he'd earned in tips. "Mom told me what Grandpa did," he said. Blake stiffened. "She did?" "Yeah. The bribe, the lies." Sam looked down at his shoes. "Did you ever not want me?" Blake stopped walking. "Never, not once. I didn't know you existed, Sam, but if I had, I would have moved mountains." Sam kept his gaze low. "She cried a lot, especially on birthdays. Said it was the one day she couldn't lie to herself." Blake's voice broke. "I'm so sorry." "I know," Sam whispered back. They sat on a curb again, the same one where Edward had pulled up a few days earlier. Sam pulled something from his pocket, a tiny, folded square of paper. He handed it over. Blake opened it slowly. It was a drawing. New. Sam in a hoodie. Blake beside him holding a paper, but behind them this time, Lauren. No capes, no bubbles, just the three of them, walking. "She hasn't smiled like that in years," Sam said, "even if it's just a drawing." Blake folded the page with care, placing it in his wallet. "I'll earn that smile, for real." When they got back to the apartment, Lauren was on the phone. Stern voice, clipped tone. She ended the call as they stepped inside. "Who was that?" Blake asked. "Edward?" Blake froze. "What did he want?" She crossed her arms. "He offered me money. Again." "What?" "Double what he gave me years ago. Said it's for Sam's future. Said it's best if you stay distant." Blake's fists clenched. "He's trying to buy you off again?" "I told him to go to hell." Sam's eyes widened. "Mom!" "Not in those words," she corrected. "But close enough." Blake turned to Sam. "Listen, whatever happens, you always come first. No one decides that but us." Sam nodded, serious now. "So?" What do we do? Lauren stepped forward, calmer now. We make it legal. Blake blinked. Legal? She held out a folder, custody forms. Shared guardianship. But I want boundaries, routine, visits. You commit, or you disappear. Blake opened the folder. His name on one side, hers on the other. Sam's in the middle. I'll sign it, Blake said, no hesitation. I want to do this right. Sam leaned over the table, watching every stroke of the pen. So, this makes us official? Blake nodded. Family on paper, but real in here. He tapped his chest. That night, Blake returned to the studio. He stepped on set for the first time in days, crew buzzing, lights warming up. But instead of sitting behind the desk, he walked to the camera operator. I want to open with a different story tonight. You mean something unscripted? The tech asked. Exactly. The red light blinked on. Blake looked into the lens. Tonight, I'm not here as a CEO. I'm here as a father who nearly lost the most important headline of his life. He held up Sam's flyer. This is Turner and Son, a comic, a promise, and proof that it's never too late to tell the truth. He paused. If you're watching, kid, keep drawing. The world needs it. Back at home, Sam sat cross-legged in front of the TV, Lauren beside him. His eyes sparkled. Mom, he said it, on TV. Lauren didn't say anything. She just reached over, pulled Sam into her arms. And in that quiet, between the commercial breaks, something shifted. Redemption, printed, broadcast, and beginning. Blake paced the hallway of his studio, crumpled paper in hand. Sam's latest comic. It featured a courtroom, a tiny figure with a cape facing down a judge. The caption, Truth gets cross-examined too. Blake stared at it. Sam had no idea just how real that was about to become. In his office, the phone rang again. It was his lawyer. Edwards filed a motion, the voice said flatly, challenging your custody agreement. He's claiming you're unstable, citing the on-air confession, time off, and that new youth program. Blake's grip tightened. He's trying to make me look like a risk. He's got influence, Blake, and a long paper trail. Blake hung up, breath shallow. Then he opened a drawer and pulled out an old photo. Lauren, him, and a college newspaper pinned behind them. They were laughing. Real, unfiltered. He ran his thumb over it. Not this time, he whispered. That afternoon, he picked Sam up from school. The boy ran up with a grin, but paused when he saw Blake's face. You okay? Blake forced a smile. Just a long day. Sam tilted his head. You look like when Mom gets that one bill she forgot about. They walked in silence until Sam said, You gonna tell me or do I have to draw it out of you? Blake exhaled. Your grandfather's trying to stop the custody. Sam stopped cold. Why? He barely even talks to me. Because control matters more to him than people. Sam looked up. Are you gonna fight back? Every day. They walked on. Sam suddenly pulled a crumpled flyer from his backpack. Well, then we better add something to the newsstand. What is it? Sam smoothed it out on a car hood. It was a headline mock-up. Turner v. Turner, family truth on trial. Blake chuckled. You always this dramatic? Sam grinned. Comes with the genes. That night, Blake knocked on Lauren's door with a stack of documents and tired eyes. She didn't ask, just poured 2 coffees and waited. Blake laid everything on the kitchen table. Edward filed a motion. Claims I'm reckless. Lauren scanned the pages, lips tightening. He's using the program? Blake nodded. And my absence from shoots. Says I'm not stable enough to parent. Lauren looked down, then back up. What do you want me to do? Blake swallowed. Testify that the only thing unstable is the man who paid you to disappear. Lauren stood, crossed the room. She stared out the window for a long time. Finally, "You know what this means, right? Cameras, questions, Sam in the middle of it." "I'll protect him." Lauren turned. "You better, because if you drag him into a mess—" "I won't," Blake cut in. "He's the reason I'm standing here." The next morning, Blake walked Sam to school. "You nervous?" Sam asked. "Little bit." "You want me to draw something for court?" Sam offered. "Like a comic of Grandpa getting splashed with truth juice?" Blake almost dropped his coffee. "That might actually help." Then Sam grew serious. "You think Mom will do it? Speak up?" "She already has. Every time she chose you over silence." Later that day, Blake stood in a dimly lit courtroom. Edward sat across from him in a sharp suit, smirking like he was watching a rerun he'd seen 100 times. Lauren walked in, head high, heels steady. She nodded once at Blake, then took the stand. "Ms. Carter," the lawyer asked, "why did you leave Mr. Turner over a decade ago?" Lauren looked directly at Edward. "Because I was told he didn't want me. Or our son." "By whom?" She paused. Then, "By the man sitting right there." Edward shifted uncomfortably. "And did you believe him?" "I had no reason not to, until recently." "What changed?" She looked at Blake. "He came back. He didn't run. He showed up. Again and again." The judge leaned forward. "Do you believe Mr. Turner can provide a stable home for Sam?" Lauren smiled gently. "He already has. Not in wealth, in presence." The courtroom fell silent. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. Blake shielded Sam as they left, one hand firmly on his shoulder. "You okay?" he asked. Sam nodded. "Just wish they used better lighting." Blake laughed. "Spoken like a true Turner." That night, back at the newsstand, Sam pinned a fresh comic on the corkboard. A stick-figure courtroom with a glowing headline above it. "Truth wins by showing up." Blake stood beside him. Sam looked up. "You think we'll win?" Blake knelt. "We already are." And under the neon buzz of the city, father and son watched the world pass by. One paper, one drawing, one truth at a time. Blake sat at the edge of Sam's bed, flipping through the boy's sketchbook. Each page told a piece of their story. Paper routes, courtroom drama, stick-figure villains in expensive suits. Sam leaned against his pillow, watching. "You ever wish you could erase a chapter?" Blake closed the book gently. "Every day, but then I think, maybe the ones we rewrite together mean more." Sam yawned. "You're getting real sentimental lately." "Comes with the territory," Blake smiled. "Dad mode." Sam smirked. "Kinda suits you." The next morning, Blake sat across from his lawyer in a glass-walled office. The news from court was good. Joint custody was likely to be approved. But there was a catch. "Edward filed a supplemental claim," the lawyer said. "He submitted a deposition from a former employee. Claims you knew about the bribe 10 years ago." Blake froze. "That's a lie." The lawyer nodded. "Still, it muddies the water, and Edward's pushing for full conservatorship if you're found unfit." Blake stood, furious. "He's poisoning the air to win." "You need proof, Blake. Something that counters his version." Later that day, Blake returned to the storage unit he hadn't visited in years. Dust covered everything. Old awards, scripts, notebooks. He found a sealed box marked Lauren in faded black ink. Inside, letters. Dozens. Most unopened. Dated from the year she vanished. One in particular caught his eye, torn at the edge, addressed to him, stamped "Return to Sender." He opened it slowly. Lauren's handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means I failed. I thought maybe, if I could reach you, you'd still be the man who used to laugh with me over cereal and edits. Edward says you've changed. Says you don't want this. But I don't believe him. Not yet." Blake's eyes burned. At the bottom, "If I'm wrong, I'll walk, but if I'm right, I hope one day you'll find your way back to us." "I didn't know, Lauren. I never got these." He took the letter and ran. That evening, Lauren opened the door to find Blake breathless, the note in hand. "I found this," he said, "in storage, with 20 others." She took it, slowly sitting on the couch as she read. "I thought you threw them away," she said, eyes glassy. "I never even saw them. He intercepted everything." Lauren shook her head, furious. "I should have known. I should have pushed harder." "No," Blake said. "He played both of us. But now, I have proof." She looked up. "You're going to use it?" "I have to. It's our story. In your handwriting." She folded the letter, nodding. "Then let's print the truth." Meanwhile, Sam waited at the newsstand. When Blake finally arrived, he held a folded mock-up of tomorrow's Chronicle. Sam read the headline aloud. "Turner Family Lies Uncovered. Letters Reveal Betrayal." "You wrote this?" Sam asked, eyes wide. "I asked the editor to run it on page 1, Blake said. "If I'm going to win this, I have to risk everything." Sam unfolded a second comic. It was Blake, standing on a cliff, a stack of letters behind him, holding one high like a torch. Caption: "Sometimes the truth burns louder than lies." Blake knelt beside him. "You made this today?" Sam nodded. "During science, Ms. Wilkes said I could draw after my worksheet." Blake laughed. "Remind me to thank her." Later, Blake and Lauren stood together in the courtroom, copies of the returned letters in hand. Edward sat silent, jaw tight. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Turner, can you explain how these letters never reached you?" "I can't," Blake said, "but I can say this. They would have changed everything. I would have chosen family." Lauren added, "He was robbed of that choice, and so was Sam." The judge took a long breath. "This court acknowledges the new evidence. The bribery allegations stand and will be reviewed separately. But, as for custody," she looked at Blake, "shared guardianship will proceed." Relief flooded the room. Edward stood, stormed out. Blake didn't follow. Outside, reporters rushed them again. Blake simply held up the letters. "This is how you rewrite a false headline," he said. That night, back at the apartment, Sam was already asleep, comic pages scattered across his blanket. Lauren looked at Blake. "We still have work to do." "I know." She handed him one last folded sheet, drawn in crayon, lines rough but honest. It showed all three of them, walking hand in hand under a banner that read, "Truth Delivered." Blake whispered, "It's finally starting to feel real," and in the soft quiet of their living room, nothing else mattered. Not ratings, not titles, just truth and the boy who never stopped drawing it. Blake stood in front of the giant whiteboard in his studio's side wing, once a marketing bullpen, now stripped bare. Sam's comics covered half of it, taped and pinned like real editorial spreads. Each one had a headline in red crayon, underlined 3 times. Blake turned to Chloe, his junior producer. "We're launching next week." She looked up from her laptop. "The kids' news program?" He nodded. "The Paper Trail. Hosted, written, filmed by kids. We give them real cameras, real airtime." Chloe raised an eyebrow. "You're sure you want to run this instead of your network's spring lineup?" "I'm sure," Blake said. "I've already dropped from the rotation." A pause. "Blake, this is huge. You're giving up the prime slot." "I've had the spotlight long enough. It's his turn now." That night, Blake brought Sam to the new studio space, a cozy room above a local print shop, buzzing with wires and fresh paint. Sam's jaw dropped. "This is for me?" "For you, and any kid with something to say." Sam wandered through the room, touching the boom mic, the swivel chair, the chalkboard wall. Then he turned back. Can I make a segment called Sidekick Sam Investigates? Like school lunches, playground politics, the mystery of why Mrs. Keene always smells like pickles? Blake nodded. You're the boss. The next morning, Blake skipped his usual TV shoot. His agent called twice. He didn't answer. Instead, he sat on the floor with Sam and two other neighborhood kids, Kayla and Jordan, as they mapped out their first show. We're starting local, Sam declared. Pet adoption, school art contest, and one mystery story. Who keeps stealing Mr. Patel's sprinklers? Jordan added, Can I be the tech guy? Kayla raised her hand. I want to write the headlines. Blake watched them, his heart full. Then came the knock on the door. It was Lauren, tote bag on her shoulder, eyes tired but warm. You weren't at your shoot, she said softly. I had something better to do. She stepped inside, watching the kids laugh over the camera monitor. Looks like chaos. It's supposed to be. Lauren pulled out a folder. Sam's school sent this. Parent-teacher forms. You're on the list now. Blake took them, a lump in his throat. Thanks for trusting me. I'm still watching, she said. But I'm starting to breathe again. Sam popped up between them. Mom, you want to be in our next segment? What's the topic? She asked. Strong women in journalism. Lauren raised a brow. You sure you're not buttering me up for cookies? Absolutely, Sam said. Mostly. Later, as the kids filmed their first live read, Blake sat in the back with a small stack of letters, thank you notes, from parents whose kids had joined the pilot. He held one close. It had a drawing on the back. 3 kids with cameras and a big speech bubble. We get to speak. Blake tucked it into his jacket. Outside, the wind picked up. Across the street, a familiar black SUV rolled to a stop. Edward stepped out. Thought I'd find you here, he said. Blake didn't move. What do you want? Edward gestured to the studio. So, this is the empire you've traded for your career? It's not an empire, Blake said. It's a beginning. Edward scoffed. They'll forget you. I hope they do, Blake replied. I'm not doing this to be remembered. You could have had the world. Blake stepped closer. I have the world. His name is Sam, and you tried to erase him. Edward's eyes narrowed. You'll regret this. Blake's voice didn't shake. Not for a second. Edward left without another word. Back inside, Sam was reviewing the footage with Kayla. We're going to cut this part. I blinked like a lizard. Blake laughed and sat beside him. You're a natural. Sam looked over. You still mad at Grandpa? I'm just sad he doesn't know what he's missing. Sam leaned against his side. You didn't miss it, though. You came back. Blake wrapped an arm around him. Yeah, and I'm not going anywhere. They watched the final clip together, Sam reading off cue cards, stumbling once, then smiling straight into the camera. This is Sidekick Sam, reporting the truth, one headline at a time. The room went still. Lauren, from the doorway, clapped. The kids joined in. Blake smiled, eyes misty. And, for the first time in a long time, the truth felt loud enough. The sunrise hit the sidewalk in long gold streaks as Blake and Sam stood at the newsstand, arms full of bundled newspapers. The city was still rubbing its eyes awake, but the two of them were already on their 5th stop. Sam tossed a paper perfectly onto a porch. Nailed it, he grinned. Blake nodded. You've got the spin down. I've been practicing, Sam said, then glanced sideways. You've gotten better too. Sorta. Blake smirked. Just don't ask me to ride the bike again. Sam burst out laughing. You almost crashed into a mailbox. Almost, Blake replied. That mailbox won. They turned down another street, the rhythm of their route now familiar, even comforting. As they moved, Blake noticed something. Subtle. Windows were opening. Neighbors were waving. A man leaned out from a stoop, holding a copy of the Paper Trail Youth Edition. Hey, you the one behind this? Blake nodded. My daughter wrote the animal shelter story, the man said proudly. She hasn't smiled like that in months. Blake raised a hand in gratitude. Tell her she's got front-page instincts. Sam turned to Blake. You made this happen. Blake looked at him. We made this happen. They reached the end of the block. Sam pulled a familiar, crumpled page from his bag. Today's feature, hand-drawn. A stick figure of him and Blake side by side, holding rolled-up papers like swords. Above it, in red crayon, delivery isn't just about the paper. Blake traced the title with his thumb. This one's my favorite. Sam shrugged. Wait till next week. I'm drawing you with better hair. Back at Lauren's apartment, the kettle whistled as she watched them from the window. Father and son, side by side, laughing, arms slung over each other's shoulders like they'd done it for years. She met them at the door, holding out a cup. Coffee for the paper crew. Sam flopped onto the couch. Today was good. No dogs, no rain, only one guy in a bathrobe. Lauren raised an eyebrow. Progress. Blake took the cup and met her eyes. Thanks for letting this happen. Lauren nodded. You've earned it. Mostly. He leaned against the wall. I've been thinking. Once the program grows, we should bring in more kids. Give them voice, purpose. Sam started something real. Sam perked up. I could teach a class. Like, headline writing 101, Don't be boring. Lauren smiled. He already sounds like you. Blake's smile softened. I'd take that as a win. That afternoon, the three of them sat at the small kitchen table with a giant stack of submission drawings. Sam picked through them like an editor-in-chief. This one's about traffic. It's dramatic. Like, a cone stood in my way. Lauren laughed. He's got your flair. Mom, Sam said suddenly, you ever think about writing again? She hesitated. I did once, before you. Sam frowned. Because of me? No, she said gently, because life got complicated. But now, maybe it's time. Blake reached into his bag and handed her something, an old notebook from college, edges worn. You left this behind. I've kept it all these years. Lauren opened it slowly, her handwriting frozen in time. I used to think you forgot everything, she whispered. Blake shook his head. I remembered all of it. Just too late. Sam looked between them. So, are you guys, like, a thing again? Lauren raised her brows. Sam. I'm just saying, there's a lot of coffee and eye contact. Blake chuckled. We're figuring it out. Sam leaned back, hands behind his head. Cool. Just don't make it weird. That evening, they walked together, three across, no words, just quiet steps on pavement. At the corner, Sam stopped. He pulled a rolled paper from his satchel, this one extra crumpled. I kept it, he said. The one I threw at you the first time, remember? Blake took it, unrolling it carefully. The front page headline, still faint, Dad forgot me. I think... Maybe you didn't, Sam said. Not really. Blake's throat tightened. He held the paper to his chest. I'll never forget again. They reached the last stop, Mrs. Dalton's house, always the final delivery. Sam turned to Blake. You want to do the honors? Blake took the paper, aimed, and tossed. Perfect arc. Sam gave a slow clap. That's an A-. Lauren linked her arm with Blake's, and under a quiet pink sky, surrounded by city sounds and fading headlines, something unspoken passed between them. A promise. A path forward. A paper trail, straight to family. The wind carried yesterday's headlines across the quiet sidewalk as Blake knelt near the newsstand, taping up a fresh comic. Sam had titled it, Ink Doesn't Lie. It showed a father and son, stick figures, as always, standing shoulder to shoulder in front of a house with a glowing porch light. A small crowd had started gathering lately. Parents, teachers, even a few reporters. Everyone curious about the paper trail, a project that had begun with a boy's crumpled newspaper and a father's second chance. Sam stood beside him, arms crossed, proud. "You think it's too cheesy?" he asked. "The light in the window?" Blake shook his head. "No, it's perfect. It says, 'Someone's finally home.'" A voice called out from across the street. "Turner!" Blake looked up. Edward, walking toward them, papers in hand, his own PR campaign tucked under his arm. One headline read, "Legacy at Risk." Edward held it up. "This stunt ends here." Sam stepped slightly in front of Blake. "It's not a stunt." Edward's eyes narrowed. "You're not a journalist. You're a child." "So were you once," Sam fired back, "before you forgot what truth looks like." Blake rested a hand on his son's shoulder. "Leave, Dad. We've told our story. The rest is noise." Edward looked at the crumpled paper pinned to the board. "Dad forgot me." His jaw tightened. He didn't say another word, just walked off, his polished shoes loud on cracked pavement. Lauren arrived minutes later, holding a coffee in each hand. She handed one to Blake, eyes still on Edward disappearing down the block. "Do I even want to know what that was?" Blake took the cup. He's still trying to rewrite things. Lauren glanced at the headline. "Let him try. We already published." They all walked the route together that morning, Blake, Lauren, and Sam. People waved from windows, asked for extra copies. A few kids on bikes shouted, "Sidekick Sam rules!" At the last stop, Blake handed Sam a folded paper. This one wasn't for delivery. It was framed now. Inside the frame, the original crumpled copy Sam had thrown that very first day, the one that started it all. Blake knelt. "I kept this because it reminded me what I almost lost." Sam looked at it quietly. "I was mad. You had every right to be." Sam touched the glass. "It's wrinkled, but still clear." Blake smiled. "So are we." Lauren stepped forward, her hand brushing Blake's. They didn't speak. They didn't have to. That night, Blake unlocked a new section of the studio. The kids' newsroom had grown. 5 desks, 2 cameras, 1 beat-up fridge. He mounted the framed paper on the wall. Above it, a placard read, "First print, first truth." Sam watched him. "You think people will remember this?" Blake looked around. "They don't have to. You will." Sam handed him the next day's comic draft. It showed their family, this time not just walking or working, but sitting at a long table, passing paper, drawing together. The headline, "Breaking Bread, Breaking Silence." "You think Mom will like it?" he asked. Blake nodded. "She might cry." Sam grinned. "She does that when she's proud." Outside, the sky turned violet. Lauren stood at the door, watching her son hand his father a pen. "No cape today?" she teased. "Nope," Sam said. "Real heroes carry paper." Blake met her eyes. "You ready for the next chapter?" She smiled. "I think we already started it." As the lights dimmed, the last thing Sam did before bed was place a rolled paper on the windowsill. His own silent headline. His way of saying, "We're still printing." And this time, we're telling the truth. The apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of the printer. Blake sat at the dining table, guiding Sam's small hands as the last edition of the week slid out, hot off the inkjet. The headline read, "The future is in print." Sam held the sheet up to the light. "Smells like achievement. And maybe a little toner." Blake ruffled his hair. "It's your best one yet." On the front page, a sketch of 3 people, silhouetted in the doorway of a newspaper office. The caption beneath it, "Our first edition as a family." Lauren entered with cocoa in 3 mismatched mugs. You boys still at it? Sam grinned. We're doing the final check. This one's going in the box. She nodded toward the small wooden chest by the window, what they now called the archive. Inside were saved comics, old issues, the original Dad Forgot Me paper, and Sam's red crayon. Blake placed the new sheet inside with care. Sam whispered, "One day, someone's going to read this and think we were famous." Blake looked over. "We already are," to each other. Later that morning, they hit the route one last time before the school break. Sam led the charge, Blake pushing the cart, and Lauren keeping pace with a clipboard in hand. "Subscriber count just hit 200, she said. Sam cheered. "That's like twice the number of kids in my whole school." Blake smiled. "It's the stories, Sam. They see themselves in your pages." They reached the final house on the route, Mrs. Dalton's as always. Sam paused before tossing the paper. "Dad?" Blake turned. "Yeah, buddy?" Sam held out the final copy. "You do it." Blake took the paper, aimed, and released. It landed squarely on the porch. Sam nodded. "Perfect throw, like movie level." As they walked back, Sam said, "I think I want to be a writer, like for real." Lauren gave him a proud glance. "Then you'll be one." Sam thought for a second. "Or maybe a cartoonist, or a camera guy, or all of it." Blake bent down to his level. "You don't have to pick one. You just have to tell the truth, whatever way it shows up." They returned to the apartment as the sun rose higher. The table was cleared, the cocoa was cold, but waiting. Lauren unrolled a fresh stack of blank pages. "So, what's next?" Sam reached into the archive and pulled out a folder labeled Ideas. He flipped it open, revealing a new title written in big block letters, Sidekick Sam and the Mystery of Tomorrow. Blake raised a brow. "That sounds like a bestseller." Sam handed them each a pencil. "You guys write the first scene with me?" Lauren hesitated, then took hers. "It's been a while." "Doesn't matter," Sam said. "We make our own rules now." They sat, shoulders touching, heads bent, writing across the page together. A knock came at the door. It was Chloe from the studio. She held up a laminated badge. "We're ready to go live. First youth segment premieres tonight." Sam beamed. "Are we on air?" Chloe nodded. "You're officially part of the broadcast schedule." Blake looked at Sam, then Lauren. "You ready?" he asked. Sam grabbed the newest comic, folded it just right, and tucked it in his backpack. "Let's print a future." That night, the studio buzzed with kids, checking mics, adjusting lights, giggling through rehearsals. Blake stood behind the glass, arms crossed, heart steady. Lauren joined him, holding a copy of that morning's edition. "They're saying the story's got legs," she teased. "A national syndicate's asking to reprint Sidekick Sam." Blake blinked. "Seriously?" She nodded. "Looks like the truth spreads fast." Inside, the red light clicked on. Sam looked into the camera. "This is Sidekick Sam. Tonight's headline, A Second Chance Can Make a Lifetime." The screen faded to black. Back at home, the three of them gathered around the table, cocoa reheated, comics stacked, and laughter echoing off the walls. No scripts, no makeup, no edits. Just family. Printing their story, one honest page at a time,